Welcome to Keeping the Nostalgia Alive show. You're probably watching this on YouTube, or you're listening to this on keepingthenostalgiaalive.podbean.com. Please subscribe to our shows on keepingthenostalgiaalive.podbean.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube page, the Keeping the Nostalgia Alive show. With us today is Gary Ulrich, who is studying to be a surgeon. And is also one of those who have started a website, and it's also a Facebook page called Trick Shots for Charity. And before we get started, Gary, I'm just going to do a little share a screen here for everybody so they can take a look at the website and get an idea of what we're talking about here.
Yep.
You can go to trickshotsforcharity.com. You can see here where he's just released a Playing for Wooden. Coach Klueh, I'm going to mispronounce this. How do you pronounce his last name?
Klueh, just like
Klueh. Okay,
yep.
so
Duane.
Coach Duane Klueh, as he raises money for Terre Haute Catholic Charities. It's 46 minutes long, but man, once I started to get into it, I couldn't. I know our attention spans are that of a gnat nowadays with social media and all that, but this is well worth watching and is very well done. And as you can see here, as I scroll down a little bit more, of course, you see all of a bunch of other things. And of course, he did, Tommy John did a trick shot for charity. And of course, Tommy John will always be known, Tommy John from Terre Haute, Indiana. And I've done an interview of Tommy John, which you guys can see on our channel also. But please go over to trickshotsforcharity.com and check it out. But we're going to talk with Gary. And Gary, thank you for spending some time with us. I know studying to be a surgeon, your time is limited. So thank you for spending some time with us.
Basketball is my number one hobby, so more than happy to do it.
And you were a Terre Haute South Brave for a little bit, and
Correct.
then you became a Rockville Rocks.
Correct.
And that is one of my favorite names when I'm ever talking about Indiana high school basketball, besides the Jeeps and of course my Broderville Rockets, the Jeeps, the Hobart Brickies, but the Rockville Rocks. That is just a great name. Before we get into why you started Trick Shots for Charity and getting into how people can donate and telling us a little bit about it, I'm not going to tell you. I did a little research on you. I'm not going to tell you who said this, but I'd like to share it with everybody before we kind of get started. He said he was a little bit nervous at the beginning, so he doesn't look very nervous, does he, guys? So someone told me that you have a huge heart for teaching the game. You have donated tons of your time to help develop the skills of the youth in his adopted hometown of Rockville, and that your mom taught him to give back from a very young age, loves and studies the game, and is a basketball junkie. So I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you who said that, but the person who was going back and forth said nothing but just the highest regards for you and what you do. Give us a little bit of idea. Take us. You were born in Terre Haute, raised a little bit in Terre Haute, and tell us about the move to Rockville.
Yeah. So I grew up in Terre Haute, and I think of worthiness of talking about is at Terre Haute South there was a coach named Coach Mike Saylor, who unfortunately passed away from skin cancer. But Coach Saylor coached in the 2010s, and back then Terre Haute South was in the MIT conference. They're the only non-Indianapolis team in the MIT conference, and the Indianapolis schools were more than likely better than the Terre Haute schools. So Terre Haute had to adapt. They had to figure out a way to compete. And Coach Saylor decided that we're going to be a 3-point shooting dominant team. We're just going to shoot threes. And he had crazy drills where we would play one-on-one 3-pointers only. A 2-minute drill where if you hit 23s in 2 minutes, getting your own rebound, you would automatically make varsity. So those things kind of molded my game and made me into a 3-point shooter. So I played on the AAU circuit, and I became friends with a lot of my Rockville teammates. And then Coach Saylor, unfortunately, was going to be taking a step down due to his health. And because of that, I just thought I would go to Rockville, have some fun with my high school education, and that's how I ended up there.
Man, I always kick myself for not naming the show 6 Degrees of Separation, but I really want people to know what I do. So I always called it the Keeping Nostalgia Alive show. Um, I was at Indiana State University when Mike Saylor was coaching there.
Yeah,
And also, I got to become friends with him on Facebook. And I got to be able to get him into a Houston Rockets game here before he passed away. And what a guy with a huge heart, a great basketball mind. And I wish I got to know him better. And he is really missed.
yeah. He was ahead of his time. He was the Golden State Warrior thinker before the Golden State Warriors existed. Um, and that was a product of trying to get Terre Haute South to compete in the MIC, which if we played regular basketball, we couldn't do. But if we shot 3-pointers, which are more efficient that we now know than 2-point mid-range shots, we could compete. So, yeah,
And when I went to Indiana State University from 86 to 90, of course, I had to graduate in 4 years because I was poor. But I couldn't take that extra semester or that extra year. I used to see Coach Saylor, and I was like, man, who's this 58? Who's this 60-year-old dude playing basketball? Because you had the premature gray and white hair, but just what a great guy. So continue on. Tell us a little bit about Rockville,
yeah,
what it was like, who you played for, and of course, this is this is class basketball rather than single class basketball. And just give us a little bit of idea about your team, and why did you spend a lot of your time doing travel ball rather than you could have spent a little bit more time playing on AAU teams?
Oh, like by travel ball, I mean AAU,
Oh, okay.
same thing. But
Okay.
yeah, at Rockville, kind of just a new fresh start. I played for Coach Mahurin, who actually Dave Mahurin, who actually played for Terre Haute South back in the day. And Coach Mahurin was a really good basketball player at Marion. He's a big figure. He's 6'10", so he's a big guy. Um, and Coach Mahurin was all about moving the basketball and really playing team basketball. We played a 5-out offense, and we were really unselfish. And in Rockville, there's a class size of 60, a population size of 2,500. So it's your stereotypical rural Indiana. So on Friday night, there's not much to do but high school basketball, and you get 5 guys being unselfish, moving the ball. That's the main attraction in the town. So it was a really good high school basketball experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
6 degrees of separation one more time, but we traveled to Rockville when I was at Broad Ripple High School in the 80s. And it's one of the memories. Going to Broad Ripple High School, I loved where we would go to places like Rockville, places like New Washington, Vincennes Lincoln, Gary Roosevelt, Anderson Highland. All those kind of. I'm glad that we branched out and went to several places, and one of those was Rockville. And I just remember us getting off the bus in Rockville, and the team was like rock stars. I
Yeah.
mean, my junior year we weren't very good, but we were just like rock. People were asking for autographs. The gym was packed for that night. Of course, you guys came back to play at Broad Ripple the following year. We won't talk about that any longer. For those that remember 1985, 86 season. But yes, great community and great support for your team. Now, when it came, okay, so your dad brought orthopedic surgery to Terre Haute. Um, and I'm assuming he probably hides that Michigan State degree because of, Michigan State, Indiana State in 78, 79. But so is that why you're studying to be a surgeon also because of your dad?
Yeah. My dad has been my main role model in life, and I grew up always going into work with dad, and then we go practice basketball afterward. And also orthopedics is related to sports. There's sports medicine, and I like that aspect of it. And you also get to help people and make a positive difference in a great degree. in this profession. So
What choices did you have coming out of Rockville? I think you played for both Rose-Hulman and Wabash. And why? What led you to that? What was your first choice coming out of Rockville?
yeah, I had about, I would say, 6 or 7 D3 offers, and then I had one NAIA offer. I'm blanking on the name. It was a weird name, but it was in Tennessee. Um, but Wabash and Rose-Hulman were really the two schools that recruited me the hardest, just because they're more local. Um, there was I remember Bard was one. I think that's in like the East Coast, like New York. But anyway, Wabash had a coaching staff consisting of Jesse McClung, who's now assistant coach at Marion, and then Antoine Carper was the head coach. And I just became really good friends with Jesse McClung. He came to all my games almost, and really conveyed to me that he wanted me. And for that reason, I chose Wabash. And Wabash, and also I knew that becoming a doctor was likely my career path, so I wanted to go to a good school. And Wabash and Rose-Hulman both checked those boxes. So fast forward 1 year at Wabash, and I was playing a lot and actually starting as a freshman. And then that following that year, the coaching staff was unfortunately fired, and they brought in a new coach. And I just decided to kind of go to Plan B, which was Rose-Hulman. Once that relationship with McClung was going to be no longer, because that was the whole reason I was there.
Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. How does Trick Shots for Charity come about? What is it about? How can people donate? I mean,
Yeah.
I know I'm giving you. I know you said you were nervous at the beginning. Don't worry. There's probably 3 people watching. Don't worry. Uh, how can people donate? How do you get guests on? How do you set up? I mean, you can just go on and on about just what I just asked, but give us a little bit of rundown.
Yeah. So Trick Shots for Charity actually goes back to my friend group's childhood growing up. Uh, there's a famous group out there called Dude Perfect, which does trick shots, and they have millions and millions of followers. Anyway, back about 10 years ago, our friend group, when we were in middle school, did trick shots for fun. And we made a small national news station, and we were uh, celebrities in high school for a little bit because of our trick shots. But anyway, fast forward about 10 years, and we're all back together. We've all graduated college, and we're like, what if we do another trick shot video, like for good time's sake? And then we started thinking, and we were like, no one's going to care about that besides 10 people. It was just, and we started brainstorming on how we can make trick shots more purposeful. And first idea we came up with was for charity. Second idea we came up with was, let's use the best athletes that have come out of our hometown and have them do the trick shots to raise money for local charities. And that's the genesis of Trick Shots for Charity.
How do you approach these people? And at first, with a lot of these, is there a hesitation? How do you get over how do you get them over their hesitation, and how do you get it all started?
At first, the first 5 people that did one were, it was kind of hard to sell. Like, we want you on top of a 12-story building dropping a ball for charity. But you start getting Greg Oden and Tommy John and people like this, and it starts to get some validity to it. The secret is, I don't know if I want to give it away, but the secret is you find their high school friend or their middle school friend, and then you start poking their side if they can reach out and help you. So that's how I got Tommy John's number and Greg Oden's number and all that.
I'm with you. So, I've got to interview Tommy John. I've got to interview Gene Katie. It's all about who you know and how you send information once you get them. So I totally understand. I've gotten a lot of no's. You've probably gotten some no's. So talk about the new one with Coach Klueh, and what was it? I mean, that had to take a long time, and what an incredible story.
Yeah. So actually, I know Duane well. I grew up going to St. Benedict's Church, which is a great church here in Terre Haute. Beautiful architecture. I mean, it looks like the church belongs in Europe, but it's in Terre Haute. And so I grew up knowing Duane well, and put this in your mind. You're calling a 90. He was 93 at the time. I want you to. He hasn't shot a basketball for like 30 years. And I want you to do, this trick shot off the top of the tallest building in Terre Haute. And I'm sure when he heard that, he was like, "What?" Let me think. But I think because he knew who I was, and there's not many college basketball players to go around in a church, so he knew, I was, I knew how to talk the talk when it came to basketball, and so Duane, he said he would do it, and also getting permission from the building to do this was a big hurdle as well. So a shout out to Sunset Harbor at Sycamore Building. But anyway, so we got Duane to do this trick shot on top of the tallest building in Terre Haute, called the Sycamore Building, a 12-story building. And he would just drop it off the side. And, we had 10 basketballs. And it took him 4 rounds of those 10 basketballs to make it, so 40 shots. But in between each round, my helpers had to bring the balls back up, and Duane and I are just sitting on the rooftop, just talking to each other, and he starts telling me his life story, and I knew he played for John Wooden. I knew his jersey was retired in the Holman Center, but I knew very little about what actually happened when John Wooden was here in Terre Haute, and how he got to Terre Haute, and actually how Duane's career actually was at Indiana State and in the NBA. So I got to know Duane on a deeper level rather than just knowing those superficial facts about him. And I said, this is more than a 2-minute trick shot video. This is a documentary. And, here in 5 years, we're not going to have many more World War II veterans around. So I said, we need to capture this story. And that's how Playing for Wooden started.
And what a fabulous documentary. And yeah, it is. It makes me sad that we're losing so many. And just as I got very kind words about what you do and all that, gosh, just all the kind words about Coach Klueh and coaching basketball and coaching tennis, and all of those lives that he has affected. Is just outstanding. Of course, I lived 4 years in Terre Haute. It gets a little bad
Yeah.
rap for stinking, doesn't it?
Yeah. Some paradise to some and terrible hope to others.
Now, I always tell people, and this may be, I'm going to find this out today. I'm going to see and I've never looked it up because I never wanted to waste the time looking it up. But Terre Haute makes railroad ties.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the stain that they stain the railroad tie with, which occasionally you will get the breeze of that smells in Terre Haute. Am I correct?
That I do not know. That's some deep Terre Haute knowledge right there. I do know that Terre Haute is notorious for railroads because in the 1800s or so, there was a bank robber, John Dillinger, and he robbed every bank in the Midwest, but would not rob the bank in Terre Haute because he was afraid to get railroaded. And if you get railroaded, you're caught.
Well, I spent 3 of my 4 years, my last year at Lincoln Quad, but my first 3 years at Cromwell. And
Okay.
you just get that cross breeze going in that on that 10th floor in Cromwell, and I was always told it was railroad ties. So maybe someone will let me know whether I'm right or wrong. The actual documentary and talking with Coach Klueh, what was that process like? Was it, the documentary, which is 46 minutes, really probably doesn't show your whole body of work, but how
Uh-huh.
difficult was it for Coach Klueh to and get it all out to you, and for you to the editing process and all that and getting it up and going?
Now, Coach Cleese, luckily still sharp as a tack. I mean, he's remembering things that happened 70 years ago. and yeah, so the documentary was probably filmed over 3 days, and there's probably about 5 hours or so of film footage, raw film footage, and it sucked up my MacBook memory. So I've been operating on, like, anyway. Um, but I, like you said earlier, we have the attention span of gnats these days, and I really wanted to trim it down and get it down to what we thought was most important in both telling John Wooden's time in Terre Haute's story and also Duane Clee's story. So I hope I didn't want to make it super long. I wanted to keep the viewer engaged.
What you know, I'm 53,
Mhm.
and I find myself more and more thinking about the reason for life, and what's going to happen with my life as I get older, and what's the reason why I'm here, and I'm sad for a lot of things and that are getting older and leaving us. Um, were there times that, being as young as you are, did a lot of things touch your heart, or bring a tear to your eye, or stories did you enjoy going through that process with Coach Kelly?
Um, I think when I was making it, the final scene of his jersey retirement, where he goes to the three things that'll be most meaningful to him. He played, or his jersey will be retired. When he says his jersey will be retired next to what he thinks is the greatest basketball player of all time, Larry Bird. I mean, that's that's a big gulp to take in. And then he says, uh, "I also had the opportunity to play for the very best basketball coach in the history of the game in the world." That's another big gulp to take in. And he expressed to me that he enjoyed calling his teammates that were still living. Jim Powers was still living at the time, and that team is still close. The families are still close, and so when he says he had the opportunity to play for a great group of teammates, he means that. And just those, I mean, those are three huge bullet points, if you will. And to see his whole life build up to the film and then to end in that thesis, like, that was a tearjerker for me making it.
Is the boys club still there across from
Yeah, yeah. So they built new apartments to the boys club. Like, are you talking about the boys club that was next to the courthouse? A little bit.
yes.
Yeah, they have torn that down and they replaced it with new Indiana State apartments. But the Terre Haute Boys and Girls Club is now located at the old Gersmeyer High School where Tommy John went. Um, so that they repurposed the school, which was Chauncey Rose, but now it's the Boys and Girls Club.
The Black Cats.
The Black Cats, yep, orange and
Yeah.
black.
Tell us some of the charities that some of these trickshotsforcharity.com, those that do it, uh, have us donate to. How can people donate besides going to trickshotsforcharity.com?
Mm,
Tell us a little bit about the website. Tell us a little bit about your Facebook page. You have Twitter, blah, 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 blah.
yeah. So the beauty of Trick Shots for Charity is that we put kind of the power in the athlete's hand. They can choose any charity they're passionate about to raise funds for. So after the athlete does the trick shot, they can pick. We've had various charities that have been chosen, and Terre Haute Catholic Charities is one Duane was passionate about. So we, because being from St. Benedict's Church, so we chose that. We've had athletes choose the Terre Haute Boys and Girls Club because of its relationship to youth sports. We've had 14th and Chestnut Community Center, which is after school program. We've had, unfortunately, there was a high school student in Brazil, Indiana, which is in the Wabash Valley. And unfortunately, she passed away in a car accident. And we were able to raise $2,000 for her scholarship fund for it goes to a volleyball player from that high school. So that's one of my favorite aspects of Trick Shots for Charity is that it's diverse, and both in the athlete population and also in the charity population. We can help various amounts of people going through various struggles.
And that's Trick Shots for Charity on Facebook. That's trickshotsforcharity.com.
Yeah.
I shared the screen a couple times there for you guys. Gary, what was do you have any like funny stories with, or awkward stories from all of these that you've done that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah. So two come to mind. Everyone's been fun. That's another beauty of it is like we're having a fun time and we're asking the athlete to do what they do. We're asking Tommy John to throw a baseball. We're asking Greg Oden to shoot a basketball. We're asking NFL head coach Cam Cameron to throw a football. It's not like we're not pulling someone's ear. But two funny things that have happened were Tommy John, when he first threw his first couple of rounds, he threw the ball and he missed, and he said, "I throw like a goddamn girl," and he proceeded to make it the next two tries. But and then Greg Oden, he was missing a lot. And he said, "Fellas, I promise you at one point in my life, I was the #1 NBA draft pick." So, it's kind of like barstool stuff. We're just, kind of having a good time and in the process doing a really good thing for our community.
You said you went through so many balls with Coach Klueh. What was it like in between, did I make it? I mean, what was his reaction as he would toss a ball down?
So we could not see from our angle on top, because we probably could if we really leaned over, but we didn't want to do that. So I had my iPhone, my camera, on a selfie stick, and that's how I was filming it going over. So it took some courage to hold my phone on a selfie stick out there. But there was one time where Duane, he hit the side of the building, the lip of the building, and he goes, "Oh shoot!" And the ball goes flying like way off, and we were laughing about that. So yeah, there hasn't been a trick shot that hasn't been fun, and we really there's really two people that started Trick Shots for Charity. It's myself and also my best friend Logan Stewart, who's also from Terre Haute, went to Indiana State. And we've had various helpers along the way, but we're kind of the two that founded it. And yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Gary Ulrich, thank you so much. It wasn't, hopefully I kept you a little bit relaxed. Trickshotsforcharity.com. You guys got to check it out. I'm also going to share on the pages that I share my show, the Coach Klueh documentary. You've just got to watch it. Like I said, we have the attention span of a gnat, but just 46 minutes, and you're just going to absolutely fall in love with it, especially if you love the game of basketball like I do, and several thousand people who follow us do. So please go to trickshotsforcharity.com, donate today. And Gary Ulrich, thank you for your love, your passion, and doing what you do.
Yeah. Thank you, Billy, for having me. And this was fun.